All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of React After Raw. We are here with you. It is Tuesday, September 30th, the final day in September for I guess, a special evening edition of React After Raw, even though Raw happened yesterday. But we are here. We're going to sit here. We're going to react. We're going to review. We're going to talk about Raw, give our thoughts, letter grade, everything. Let me introduce to you the panel today. Matt, in the words of Enzo Amore, how you doing?
Oh, I am doing. I'm excited. Better late than never. I'm glad that we got React going on right now.
Absolutely. We are live here, and we're going to jump right into the show. We aren't going to waste any time, and we're just going to jump right into it here, people. So let's go. So Raw opens up. The Authority comes out. They waltz down to the ring. Immediately, it was like somebody lit a match. The CM Punk chant start. The crowd, the Chicago crowd goes wild for their hometown hero. And then, Stephanie McMahon calls out CM Punk saying, why would you root for a quitter? Why would you root for a quitter? And it's funny because earlier in the day she did a radio interview or some kind of interview, and she said never say never about CM Punk. So it's kind of weird how they're playing that angle. Like outside of the WWE storyline, he's not a quitter, and we're gonna leave the door open. And then immediately after that, the Authority they call out Ambrose saying what he did was wrong, and he's gonna suffer the consequences. And as they're going through that spiel, Paul Heyman, finally comes out in in front of the Chicago crowd. I kind of expected a thing that he did last time in Chicago, making light of the CM Punk situation, but they didn't do that. They focused on the issue from Night of Champions, which should have happened last week. And if you didn't hear the rumors last week, they were rewriting the show as it was happening, and that's why Paul Heyman wasn't on the show last week. So he comes out this week, and he says that his client Brock Lesnar wants answers for what happened at Night of Champions. Brock feels disrespected, and if they don't make things better, then Brock will be coming after Seth Rollins and the Authority. Quickly, Seth Rollins interjects, says, you should be proud of what I did. You should be happy for what I did. I want, if I want to be WWE World Heavyweight Champion, I want to beat the best. And it wasn't really a heel moment for him. It was kind of more of a face moment, really, like I want to beat the best, and so me going after Brock Lesnar is me showing that he's the best, and that's who I want to beat. So I'm sorry for doing that. And then they go on the spiel about the briefcase. Ambrose quickly interrupts, like, "Hey, if you want the briefcase, come get it." And then as they are leaving after that segment in the ring, of course, good old Super Cena comes out, tries to save the day, beat up Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins runs away. Cena's in the ring. He does the woo and gets a raucous, just a bunch of boos from the Chicago crowd. And it's evident that, as always, Chicago doesn't like Cena. And I thought that it was a great opening segment, really strong opening to Raw, especially with addressing CM Punk, Paul Heyman, Seth, Brock, really wrapping up that Night of Champions issue there with the title, and then then transitioning into Ambrose, Rollins, and Cena. I think they did a good job with that segment. Really started off the show strong, got my hopes up, and we'll get to that later in the show. So Matt, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the opening segment for Monday Night Raw.
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was really well done. Really told a story, continued, the feud from last week, and that's kind of something that we talked about on React last week was, the fact that they have so many continuity errors where they don't continue on with the storyline and they just, they treat us like we're stupid and pretend like it never happened. I feel like the past few weeks we've been really getting that full slow burn where they're actually continuing storylines week from week from week. They're opening and ending Raw with the same storyline. So you're getting that continuation, which I really liked about it. And I thought all the guys did a great job. I really loved Paul Heyman's segment, really playing that worm role beautifully as always.
Definitely.
Being afraid when Triple H got into space and then kind of cowering out of the ring and waddling his way up the ramp. beautiful job by him. And same thing for Seth. You know, his promo was really good. My only issue with it, like you said, was it felt more like a babyface type promo. It didn't feel to me like a heel promo, and I completely agree with you. That's exactly how I felt. I felt more, on his side opposed to against him, and I felt like, in a sense, that was kind of, there were a lot of people who were for Seth Rollins throughout this entire Raw, and obviously we'll get, to that later. But I felt this segment in particular, his promo, felt more like something the fans could get on board with. Like, he's not a bad guy. He just wants to be the best. That's what everybody in the company wants. So he's really not that bad of a guy. And I know he tried to squeeze in the "I'm very sorry," tried to be very manipulative like Paul Heyman, but I think that backfired because he's being manipulative to Paul Heyman. You love to hate Paul Heyman. So being a jerk to Heyman automatically is the exact opposite of doing that to anybody else. You automatically, if you're a jerk to Heyman, you automatically become a babyface. It just doesn't make sense. And I thought in that aspect they failed miserably. I don't felt like that got him over at all as a heel. I felt that only pushed him further into being a babyface, and that's kind of what the fans want. He's a fan favorite, and they love him. He got a bunch of huge pops last night on Raw. But I thought as a whole, with that aside, I thought the segment got its point across really well. It was well written. Even Cena coming out and all that stuff, and Dean Ambrose being a part. I just felt like together it made sense and really worked as a segment. Obviously, other than the babyface-esque promo that Seth Rollins cut, that was supposed to be a heel promo.
Right, I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Seth Rollins' character over the next few months, especially heading into Hell in a Cell, where if you haven't read it on RealBreakWrestling.com yet, there's an article up about WWE's plans for Hell in a Cell, and it looks like Rollins could be in the main event inside the cell with either Dean Ambrose or John Cena. Hopefully it's Dean Ambrose. And you can go to RealBreakWrestling.com, check out that article, check out my thoughts on it, and it's just a good read. So go do that. Go support RealBreakWrestling.com. We're going to quickly move on here and talk about the Intercontinental Championship match. I noted on our Facebook page last night that it was one hell of a match. I mean, all three of those guys really put on a show, and for me, it was match of the night. It really stole the show. And it continued that energy from the first segment, really building up the show in a way. Lots of good stuff going on there. You had Dolph with the double DDT and then the neckbreaker DDT combo, which I thought was beautifully done. You can't really say anything bad about Dolph Ziggler except stop getting concussions, but he hasn't had one in a while, thankfully. But
he hasn't wrestled Jack Swagger in a while either.
Yeah, just stay clear of Jack Swagger, and your career will be intact. But it was a solid match all around. Definitely, nice to see Ziggler continue on with the IC Championship. But my hopes is that somewhere down the line, Cesaro does get this IC title. I think, we've talked about it so many times since he joined up with Heyman. He's just lost all momentum. He's not what he used to be. He's still great in the ring, but his character is just flat. It's like a piece of steak that's been sitting on the counter for 6 hours. It's rested way too long. You just don't want it. You don't want it anymore. So I think they need to do something with Cesaro, and the first step is giving him that IC title. And then you have Bad News Barrett return. I think his return is planned for either late November, early December. You have him return. That sets up a big feud between, the Swedish guy and the British guy. Both of them are capable of cutting promos, so I hope we see that down the line. Definitely disappointed, as always, that this wasn't a pay-per-view match. It was pay-per-view worthy, and I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way, that this should have been something that was saved for the pay-per-view. So I'll jump to you and get your thoughts on the IC title match.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It definitely was a match made for pay-per-view. And I said that right off the bat. As soon as I saw them coming out and starting with this match on Raw, I was very disappointed. And I actually didn't know going into this. I didn't hear this, or I didn't remember hearing it, that it was a triple threat. I don't know if they announced it just on that Raw, or if it was something from SmackDown or last week that they mentioned. I don't remember, but I was very surprised to see it be a triple threat. I guess it does make sense, but I was very worried about that because having three different guys, a triple threat's a very difficult match to pull off entertainingly. Because three guys wrestling at the same time, it's not really possible. But they seem to pull it off very, very well. And Cesaro, continues to, he shouldn't amaze me because he's just that good, but he does, all these moves that he does that I don't even know what it's called, that move that he debuted on Sheamus at Night of Champions where he like grabbed him behind his neck and like slammed him. I don't even know what that's called, or I've never seen anything like it. The fact that he innovates should just tell you that this guy is a star. You don't see
Definitely.
that anymore. Guys who go in the ring and they make up these moves out of nowhere, or pick moves up from years and years ago that haven't been seen in forever and bring them into their arsenal. And he keeps doing that, and it makes him it keeps him fresh, which is something that WWE is lacking. I like you said, I'm happy with Ziggler retaining the title. I don't mind it. I think it would have been way too soon for him to lose it anyway. I think it would have been really frustrated if he had lost it because it had just been hot potatoed, Night of Champions and then that following Raw. So to have him then pass it again to Cesaro would have just been a waste, and that makes the title look really, really weak. So I like that he kept it, and I hope that this feud stays. I don't really know exactly, other than he won the tournament, where Cesaro would fit into this equation, because right now you have Ziggler and Miz, who have this great chemistry right now. They've had this great rivalry for a while. They make sense together, but Cesaro is kind of that puzzle piece that's just there. So I don't know how they would build this into something that I'd be, obviously the payoff being, another match in a pay-per-view that might even be even better than this one. But we still have some time until that happens, until Survivor Series, or Hell in a Cell, excuse me. I'm jumping. I'm already going right past Hell in a Cell. I went right past Hell in a Cell. We still got some time before Hell in a Cell. So I'm just curious of how they're going to build him into this rivalry, if they even decide to keep him there. Because another thing, I don't know, I don't think that they announced a rematch or anything of that sort. But I'm afraid that they're just going to use Cesaro as, kind of a jobber, which sucks. But he won the tournament, and then Dolph Ziggler beat him and The Miz, making Ziggler look a little bit stronger. I'm just afraid now Cesaro's just going to move on and go elsewhere. But like you said, I would love to see a match between Cesaro and Bad News Barrett. I think that match could really elevate that title. And it would be perfect, because I've always said I really think that Bad News Barrett needs to return as a babyface. I know Oz, I think, disagreed with me on that one. I don't remember his exact stance, but I know that personally, I think that he's going to get a huge pop upon his return. People love Bad News Barrett. And I'm not saying babyface where he, panders to the crowd. I'm talking an aggressive babyface, something that we haven't seen in a while. I think if you brought him back that way, then having Cesaro a heel as the champion would make perfect sense. But I don't think, honestly, I could be wrong, but I don't think they're going to go much further than Hell in the Cell with Cesaro as champion. I don't think they're going to make him a champion, rather. I think he's just going to be that jobber. He's going to put Ziggler over even more. Probably see another triple threat down the road. But as far as the match goes, the match was phenomenal. Should have been on a pay-per-view. Not much more I can say about it than that.
All right, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Definitely agree with your concerns about Cesaro becoming a jobber. It would be really sad to see that happen to a guy with that level of impressive talent. I mean, even Stone Cold Steve Austin has said on his podcast recently that if Roman Reigns isn't ready to return by Royal Rumble for the WrestleMania season, then Cesaro should be the guy to take his place because he's that talented. He's that impressive in the ring. And if you really give him a chance, he could probably cut a decent promo. I know he hasn't done a lot of promo work, but when he has, it's better than Roman Reigns. We'll just leave it at that. And before we jump to this next topic here, I just wanted to point something out to you real quick. I don't know if you're. I know you probably don't have our YouTube stream up, but it's not showing me when I talk, so you're probably just gonna have to click on my face to bring it up on the screen.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that up real quick because it's just not showing that. So we are gonna jump next, and we had our first sighting of Bray Wyatt since Night of Champions, and even before that, I think. I don't know if he was around before, but you had the Bray Wyatt vignette play talking about Luke Harper, how he brought him in, and he was broken, so we fixed him, and now he's setting him free. And now that's left us to speculate. Well, are the Wyatt family breaking up? Because we haven't really seen a whole hell of a lot out of them in recent weeks. It's really been Eric Rowan and Luke Harper on one side, and then Bray Wyatt battling on another. And it was reported today that WWE has had a plan for Harper to get pushed for a while now, but they just didn't know when to execute it. So it could be that now they're finally playing that singles push for him. He's really popular with a lot of the IWC members. He's even been compared to Bruiser Brody, and he does cut decent promos from what I've seen, and he is a good talker. So they're not sure what to do with him, whether to make him heel or babyface, but the plan is for Wyatt and Rowan to turn. Not sure what they're going to do. So it's going to be interesting because Harper says in that promo, I'm putting myself back together with pieces. Does he mean pieces of Bray Wyatt, and does that start a feud, or is that just pieces of people that he's going to be facing down the road? It poses a very interesting question on what they're planning to do with him in his impending singles push. And then that leaves the question of, what happens with Rowan, because he's not really that impressive. He's really just a guy who kind of goes in the ring and throws himself around. And even though he has improved in recent months, I don't think he's really a viable character that WWE can really do anything with. So do we see him kind of just go off and do his own thing for a little while, or maybe become a Rosebud or some stupid shit? I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Luke Harper, Bray Wyatt, and Eric Rowan upon their return. I mean, they did show up after Raw last night and attacked John Cena and Dean Ambrose, taking those guys out. Of course, the faces send the crowd home happy, and Ambrose was left to pose in the ring at the end of the night. But, I want to get your thoughts, because I know you've had a lot of ups and downs with the Wyatt family and them, Rowan and Harper splitting off from Bray, and you've had a lot of issues with WWE and the Wyatt family. So I want to know what you think is going to happen with Luke Harper and his push, and what's going to happen with Bray Wyatt moving forward.
Yeah, I've definitely been frustrated a lot. I am actually frustrated with this move, honestly, because I don't feel like they've done enough as far as Bray Wyatt is concerned lately. I mean, they split them up, and I thought it was way too premature. I don't feel like they've one of our rope breakers mentioned this, and it's pretty much accurate. They come in, they build this stable. They start pushing the stable. John Cena defeats the stable. They split up. You don't see Bray Wyatt really doing anything spectacular. And then now, Luke Harper is going to go off on his own. I don't think they've done enough with the Wyatt family yet to really warrant this. I do think that Luke Harper is talented enough to get this push. I think they're being way too impatient about it. Now, I don't think that the Wyatt family is breaking up. I know that is another fear of mine, is that Bray Wyatt's going to lose, they're just going to break him up and Bray Wyatt's going to go solo. I do think that eventually that's where it needs to go, but I think right now he still needs to be built. I don't think they've really built him yet. I mean, he lost his biggest match. He lost pretty much every time. You know, he finally goes over on Jericho. Jericho helps put him over. Good guy, Jericho. And you know, that was his big moment. And then they drop the ball, and you don't see him for a pay-per-view. You know, he pretty much almost loses to Big Show. It just, they haven't done enough with Bray Wyatt to really, you know, and I'm frustrated because this guy is super talented. I know there's people who don't think he's that good in the ring, but I'm here to tell you that if you don't think he's good in the ring, you're a moron and you know nothing about wrestling. Yes, hashtag heel turn. That frustrates me when guys say that you have no talent in the ring. Those are the guys who, you know, absolutely love Hornswoggle versus El Torito and stupid shit like that. And, you know, those are guys who can't keep attention for more than 5 seconds. You know, he's great in the ring. Look at his in-ring storytelling. It's phenomenal. You know, just because he can run off the top rope or doing a suicide dive doesn't mean he's not good in the ring. He's super talented in the ring. He has a lot of great skills as far as mat wrestling is concerned. He does have mat wrestling skills. He's not a, you know, typical strict mat, you know, technical mat wrestler. But he does have, you know, he puts a lot of locks, and he brings his character into the ring with him, which is what makes him so phenomenal. You don't get character development like that in every match you see Bray Wyatt wrestling, and it makes it so interesting. That's enough of that little rant. As far as Luke Harper being separating from the group, I just don't feel like it makes any sense right now. You know, like I said before, I was frustrated when they became a tag team on their own because it made that division. You know, it made it seem like, I'm glad that they didn't win the tag titles because that was a huge issue of mine. If they win the titles, you know, that pretty much shows that they don't need Bray. And then that makes Bray look weaker. So far, it seems like Bray needs them more than they need him, which would make sense of him being a cult leader. He kind of preys on the weak for his own benefit. But I don't think it's time to break up the Wyatt family, and I don't think that's the avenues they're going. Hopefully they don't. It just seems like when they have more than one push going, you know, they lose traction on, like, they can't multitask when it comes to pushing people. Like, they'll focus heavily on one guy, and then the rest, everybody else falls short. You know, that always seems to happen. Right now, you know, they're pushing Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. You know, now they're going to push Luke Harper, and is afraid one of these guys is going to fall off because they're not focusing on him anymore. Hopefully they can do something good with Luke Harper, because he is talented. Bruiser Brody is the absolute perfect, what's the word I'm looking for? The perfect comparison. There we go. The perfect comparison. Absolutely Bruiser Brody-esque. You know, like you said, he can talk on the mic, so hopefully they do something with that. And hopefully they bring in another member for Bray Wyatt to fix. I think that could be interesting, and that could help. As long as they continue on this path, they don't separate the Wyatts, because like you said, Eric Rowan really isn't, you know, good enough to be a solo act. Not even just yet, ever. I don't think he's going to get to that point personally.
I don't disagree with you at all.
He's just kind of like like you said, a big guy who throws himself around, not really good in the mic. So as far as he goes, I think he should stay there. And then they can bring in a guy like, what's that guy from NXT who fought, new-ish guy. I think they repackaged him. He fought hippie guy there. Son of a bitch, what's his name?
Baron Corbin?
Yes, bring him in. I think he could be a cool character to add to the Wyatt family because he's got that quiet, he's that big guy, and I think that, you know, he could join the Wyatt and help him, you know, establish his character, because I really like that. I really like him, and I think a lot of people, and this is going way off topic, but people actually compare him to like a Raven type character, but that's a topic for a completely different day. We're not talking about him. We're talking about Bray Wyatt.
Before the Bell.
That is a topic for Before the Bell, which airs every Friday at noon, give or take. Okay, that's my plug for the day. I just don't want to see them drop the ball with Bray. It worries me. Um, and I just, I didn't like the concept at first. It's something I got to get used to because I don't think they're really ready to split up yet. I don't think we've established Luke Harper enough yet to really warrant him this split. But I mean, who the hell knows? It could work out. I hope it does because this guy's talented, and I hope they do not drop the ball with Bray Wyatt because it seemed like he was getting a push. Like I said, you know, Jericho put him over pretty much twice. And then he gets almost knocked out by Big Show and doesn't lose to Big Show, but he doesn't really win either. And then you don't see him in the Night of Champions. It's like you don't really hear from him. No explanation why. Obviously the legitimate reason is he was filming something for 2K15, but they didn't even come up with a story. That tells me they don't care enough about him. If you care enough about him, then you should have made up a reasoning of why he wasn't there. He needed to reassess himself. That makes people think, oh, he's going to reassess and then come back stronger than ever. And that gives him kind of a build without having to build him. It's not that difficult. It takes one sentence to write that into a script or to write that into a game plan. It's just ridiculous that they just completely ignored him. And then to make him pop back up like he never left was kind of weird. The whole thing.
I think that's where the vignette served its purpose was, Bray Wyatt left so that he could set Luke Harper free. I think that's where, that will come in. I think we might get another vignette next week, maybe explaining it more. Maybe Wyatt will finally come back to television next week. I don't know, but I do agree with you in saying, with what you're saying, and they didn't really give an explanation on why Bray Wyatt left. He just left after that match with Jericho, I believe. He might have had a match on SmackDown main event. I don't know. But after that, their final match on that Monday Night Raw, they didn't really give an explanation on why he missed a pay-per-view. Again, they didn't explain why. Following Raw, again, no explanation. And then this week we got the vignette, and we see he's back at the compound setting Luke Harper free. So, I do agree with you in saying, we needed an explanation because it's not right that, we just had this character who had a lot of steam, who they were really building, and then just disappeared with no explanation. I mean, he's not the Undertaker. It doesn't work like that. So I agree with you there. Definitely concern for Bray Wyatt's future in the WWE because, like you said, he is talented in the ring, on the mic, on the mat. He's just an all-around, what there's an all-around. He's a jack of all trades, master of none, really. So, hopefully we see some improvement there with Bray Wyatt, and maybe we'll see him in the title picture in the future. I mean, I hope so. I hope something happens with Bray Wyatt. And after that vignette, just a match I quickly want to just graze over. You had Layla versus Rosa. Just a total divas match. Don't care. Moving on. And then that brings us to the top of the second hour, and you have the Dean Ambrose segment where he comes out to the ring. I thought this segment was phenomenal. I thought this was so well written. It really continued that momentum from the first hour. Dean Ambrose comes out, and he's out there, and I'm just gonna give away this stuff for free. They overcharge for what they charge is $19.99. I'm gonna bid. Here's $1, here's $2. And then he's just throwing the shit out in the crowd. I mean, it was just, I hope those fans got to keep that stuff afterwards. I know, some concerts and live events, stuff like that, they throw stuff out, and I've heard security taking it back. So I hope those fans got to keep that merchandise from Dean Ambrose. I thought it was funny when he takes out his own shirt and he goes, "They call me unstable. I'm not unstable." Throws it out in the crowd. I mean, I thought that was great. He's got the briefcase. Seth. I mean, we were in the Shield together. We were brothers, but I didn't know you were into some of this stuff. And again, Triple H humor written all over it. And then You know, you had Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury come out. they they sent the cruiserweight division after me. That was gold. That was comedy gold. Dean Ambrose just sold it perfect, said it perfectly. I was dying. I was that was it. It was gold. It was perfect. And then the actual security teams comes out and he's like, are you guys really security? I could have sworn last week you were Rosebuds. Again, it's got Triple H written all over it. It was it was hilarious, and it just goes to show that Triple H uh, really pays attention to the product and what people say, through Twitter and Facebook and things like that, and like the dirt sheets where they say, well, this security team was from NXT or local indie wrestlers, and they were Rosebuds. He really pays attention to that stuff, and I really like that they kind of did that sort of continuity there. And then you have Dean Ambrose. I'm sorry, you're right, it's yours. I shouldn't have taken it. I'm sorry. Opens it up, gets blasted in the face with slime, and then just that reaction on the steps where he's sitting there and he's got this shocked face, and it slowly turns to that evil, you know, that not that evil grin, but just that menacing, like, haha, I got you grin. He just sold it perfectly. And it just makes me believe that Dean Ambrose really has taken advantage of the situation that he's in now because Roman Reigns is gone, Daniel Bryan's gone. There's really not a number two babyface in the company right now. So yeah, they've thrown that on Dean Ambrose's shoulders, and I think he's done a good job at really moving forward with that momentum and really carrying himself in that spot. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Roman Reigns comes back around Royal Rumble. Do they continue to push Ambrose in that spot as a number two, number three babyface? Because, as we all know, the plan is still set in stone for Reigns to come back, win the Rumble, go on to Mania, get the title, blah, blah, blah. But, I think Dean Ambrose has a lot of potential. I think this is really, really the start of something, special for Dean Ambrose because he got huge pops last night, huge pops.
Yep.
I mean, some guys get pops, but I mean, people have described it as stone cold level pops. I mean, the crowd was like Dean Ambrose. I can't even. It was huge, and I think that goes to show the value of what Dean Ambrose can do and what could happen down the line with his character because he's in that anti-authority role that CM Punk was once in and Stone Cold was once in. So they're still continuing that trend, but I don't know. Dean Ambrose seems, like something special. Like he could really make something good happen. I think they're really trying to invest a lot in Dean Ambrose now because Roman Reigns is gone, and I hope they continue to do that when Reigns makes his return. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that Dean Ambrose segment.
Well, I absolutely thought it was terrible. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
I was just trying to make some difference because we've been agreeing on everything so far. It's, trying to. But no, it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. My favorite segment of the. I'm a huge Dean Ambrose mark. He's my favorite guy right now in the currently on the roster. And he's just every time he hits it. And yeah, like you said, I texted you last night. This had Triple H written all over it. I mean, this is his humor, period. And I know I would be surprised if he didn't write this or have a hand in, writing all the jokes because this is completely his humor, DX humor. I could just picture DX in Dean Ambrose's spot right now, doing the same exact jokes. That is something that they would do. So either it was Triple H or it was Road Dogg who also writes for creative. It was one of the two, because that was completely D-Generation X type humor. And when he said they sent the Cruiserweight division out to get me, I was crying. Just like you said, I was literally crying. I was laughing. That was perfect. But yeah, everything that guy does is gold. That segment worked perfect. It continued the storyline. I like how they started the show. They in the middle of the show they had a segment, and then they ended the show with the same storyline. that really works well, and that is what they need to do every Raw to keep it interesting. They need to start the show and the show the same, and then have a segment in the middle that connects the two together. That makes the show bearable, and that segment really just did a great job. I think Aussie would agree that the briefcase thing with the green, whatever the hell it was, I think he's senile. He said something about eggs, and JBL was like, "What?" He's like, "Green eggs." He's like, "Green eggs and ham." He's like, "The hell are you talking about, Jerry?" He's like, "It could be anything. Toxic waste." I don't know what Jerry was talking about with eggs, but apparently he thought apparently that looked like eggs to him, because Jerry Lawler is a moron.
They should have plugged it and said it was Mountain Dew.
Yeah, there you go. He sprayed him with Mountain Dew. I thought that was very Attitude Era-esque. I thought that really kind of reminded me of, some entertaining aspects of something they would do in the Attitude Era. I know I saw a meme online earlier that was that segment, and then below it said Tajiri approves, because he used to do it with the green slime.
Yeah.
I think they could also say Hornswoggle approves, because he also used to do that with the green stuff in his mouth. I thought the whole segment was perfect, and then the follow up with that backstage segment, with Triple H, Stephanie, Orton, and Kane, where Orton and Kane are laughing at him when he comes in and he leaves the briefcase, and it's buzzing, and they're like feeling for their phones. They look over at the briefcase, they're like, "What the hell?" And he goes over, he's like, "It's an electric razor," and they're kind of like looking at each other like, I thought that was a perfect.
Implying that Seth Rollins has a weird side to him. Again, Triple H DX humor written all over it. It was hilarious. I loved it.
Yep, I thought that was a perfect way to throw in that adult humor, without getting the kids involved, because there are kids who watch the show. That's the way. If they did something like that every single week and they added little things like that in there, which they can obviously do, I would be way more invested in the show, because it gives something to us.
I gotta interrupt you, because I could just imagine you got some like 6, 7, 8-year-old kid, and they're sitting there at home and their parents are watching the show with them, and the briefcase is vibrating, and I can just imagine kid, "Hey mommy, what was actually in the briefcase?" And just like the awkward look on the parents' face is just like, what he said, it was an electric razor. Like, oh man, I can just imagine just the reaction from the kids asking their parents. Oh man.
Yep, I was thinking that too. I'm like, these none of these kids get it, but that was perfect. That reminded me of this segment that they did a while ago when Eve used to work for the company, when she was doing backstage interviews, and she had that pearl necklace on, and Triple H was like, "Are those real?"
Yeah.
Like, "Those are huge. Can I touch them?" And she's like, "Sure." And then he grabbed the necklace, and he's like, "Wow, these are really nice." And that's the kind of adult humor, that works. Throw that in there. The kids don't know any different. It's not hurting anything. We get a kick out of it. Why don't they do that every week? I just thought that and the backstage segment, it made at least that first hour really awesome. I loved it. Dean Ambrose is a man. What can I say? And I liked when he was like he's like gonna throw all the stuff out there. He's taking bids. He's like $1. And then when he grabbed the Sheamus shirt, and he's like, "Hell, I'll give away the Sheamus shirt for 25 cents." I was like, I know Aussie was marking out a little bit to that. I was. I don't know if you were. I think you were. We all hate Sheamus.
Rope break is the general Sheamus. I guess Sheamus haters, if you want to put it that way.
Yep, absolutely. But it was a great segment. Definitely a great segment.
Yeah, definitely I agree. And then after that, I don't know about you, but for me, the show really starts to take a downturn. I don't know if you agree, disagree, but really the show, the energy just slowly drops off. You fought with Bo Dallas versus Mark Henry, and Mark Henry attacks Bo Dallas backstage. Not sure if he's heel or face or tweener at this point. I don't know. And what pissed me off even more was that They don't even sell the brutal injury at, he's just, they're gonna be fighting a rematch, gonna be on main event tonight.
Yeah.
They don't even sell it. He slams him with this road case as hard as he can 2 times, and a Bo Dallas is like having a seizure, and he's okay the next day to have a rematch. Wasn't a fan of that at all. And after that we had Bree versus Cameron and Eva Marie. Awful, god awful. It was. Oh, just stop. The Total Divas matches need to stop. They need to stop. They need to go away. I can't deal with it anymore. After that, you had the Adam Rose bullshit. I'm not even going to comment on that, except for the fact that I'm severely disappointed that the Bunny is now an official roster member. The Bunny has his own roster page, his own Twitter account. It pisses me off because it insults my intelligence as a wrestling fan. I don't want to watch a dude in a bunny suit wrestle. We've talked about this many times here on React, on our post shows, on our pre-shows. Like, we want the characters that we watch to be relatable. We can't relate to a fucking bunny. I mean, when 70% of your audience is males that are ages 18 to 30, nobody wants to watch a bunny. What the fuck? Is that a carrot?
That is a carrot.
Oh my god, unbelievable.
I can relate to the bunny. I love carrots.
When 70% of your audience are males ages 18 to 30, and you're giving us a bunny, and then Hornswoggle in a gator costume, and then on top of that you have El Torito in a bull costume, which is okay because it's part of the gimmick of Los Matadores. That's fine. I don't mind that. The Hornswoggle in a gator costume is just to play off the fucking tag team. I think it's stupid and unnecessary. I'm tired of watching furry animals run around the ring. I'm sick of it. It's not 1990, no 91, 92, 93. Jesus Christ. Somebody bring back WCW and give these people fucking competition so we don't have to watch this bunny wrestle anymore. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I completely fucking agree.
And then you have the Rusev segment afterwards. You know what? It was an okay segment. Big Show cut a decent promo. Rusev spoke English, which was kind of a shock because he doesn't really talk. Lana does the talking for him. When he does talk, it's strictly in Russian. So when he spoke, it really started to develop and really holding that feud together between him and Big Show. Again, not a feud I really care for because and nothing against Big Show, but it's just Big Show and Rusev. It's not going to be that entertaining because you have one guy who's 7 feet tall, 425 pounds, isn't always that graceful in the ring. He has improved since he's dropped the weight, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be a very interesting feud to watch in regards to the matches. And my hopes for that is after he beats Big Show and beats the shit out of the world's largest athlete, he can finally move on and face Sheamus and win the U.S. Championship to further his heat. And then here's what pissed me off about this. Big Show gets in the ring, right? Rips down the Russian flag. What does WWE do? They go on their website and they issue an apology to Russia for Big Show ripping down the flag. But yet, Rusev and Lana come out there every week, and they talk shit about America, and they talk shit about the president, and on and on and on. And nobody issues an apology for that, but yet, when this happens, Big Show goes in the ring, rips down the Russian flag. They think it's going to lead to some kind of huge controversy. But it's okay to put Vladimir Putin in the storylines, even though there's a huge controversy in the Ukraine and Russia right now going on with that, and the UN being against that. So that's okay to do that, even though people still get offended. it's okay to have Lana and Rusev, bash the American people and the president on a weekly basis. That's okay. That creates controversy, but it's okay. But the minute a WWE superstar does something that goes like that is a threat to the Russian government, WWE has to issue an apology. I really don't think that was necessary. I think that takes away from the storyline. I I'm disappointed. I don't think they should have issued an apology. So those are really my thoughts on that. I don't know if you saw if WWE did that, but very disappointed.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that at all. I didn't even notice they did that. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they would do that. Um, they're built on being so controversial. Yeah, that just I thought it was kind of pointless. It's not like Russia's gonna come and like come right to WWE headquarters with their tank. Well, who knows? They do drink a lot, so that is that is
Yeah.
strictly a stereotype. If we have any Russian rope breakers out there, we apologize. I know you guys don't all drink, just the majority of you. Um, no, but as far as that segment goes, I just want to quickly throw in there that you know I really my favorite part of that entire segment. I didn't even really, honestly, I didn't even really care for Big Show's promo. I didn't think it was that good. I felt he was reading a script from Knucklehead or some stupid shit like that. It just wasn't amazing to me. It's a Big Show. It felt too pandering to the crowd. It just wasn't that great for me. But my favorite moment in that entire segment was when Rusev spoke, because when he spoke, the whole crowd went silent because you don't hear enough from him. And I think they need to do things like that more often. They need to be careful though, because I think the whole reason behind when he speaks, people listen, is because he doesn't speak often. When he does, he means it. So I think I think they're good with what they're doing. Just kind of have them pepper in promos from him a little bit more often, because he's got a very menacing sound to him, and you believe it when he says something. Whereas Lana, you're just kind of like, okay. So I really enjoyed when he spoke. I
With
had
Lana, you're just like, okay, just show us your ass. Like, that's it.
exactly. I mean, she's just eye candy. He means business. When he speaks, it's like, damn. This guy's gonna really kick Big Show's ass. I thought that was my favorite part of that segment. I was like, whoa. My first thought was this guy needs to talk more often because he reminded me of Brock Lesnar. That was my first thought when I heard him speak, because it felt more real than acted. It felt like less of a promo and more of him just speaking. That's kind of what it reminded me of in a sense. But yeah, he has a really menacing, just very menacing sounding voice. Um, I'm already getting kind of tired of this rivalry. Of the
No,
whole Russia versus America thing. It's kind of getting really stale really quick. As Aussie likes to say, he can't be here, so I'll say it for him. It's like that loaf of bread that's been sitting on the counter all day. It's stale.
Yep.
It's just not doing it for me anymore. I'm kind of losing interest in Rusev himself, even though I like the guy. Really, really fast backtracking really quickly. I just wanted to make one more mention on the Bo Dallas segment, or the Bo Dallas match with Mark Henry. I actually didn't mind that. I'm a fellow believer, as is every single React. I believe. I like the guy. And him beating Mark Henry didn't make much sense to me. But, I guess WWE does whatever the hell they want. But the backstage segments really had me confused, because they're really building this guy as a heel who really doesn't know that he's a heel, who tries to genuinely give good advice but just comes off like an asshole. And
Like Dr. Phil.
exactly. Except I think Dr. Phil knows he's an asshole and just doesn't care. Him and that stupid mustache. Speaking of mustaches, Alex Trebek brought back that mustache. Did anybody else see that? Yeah. Woo! Anyway.
Only on React when we talk about Alex Trebek.
Alex Trebek, not even Alex Trebek, his mustache.
His mustache. Jeez.
But it just didn't make sense to me, because Mark Henry came off as a heel, and you really started to feel bad for Bo Dallas. That's not a way to put over a heel in any situation. That's not okay to put him over that way. It doesn't make you feel like, oh, Bo Dallas is an asshole, he deserved it. I know I felt like, even though I like Bo Dallas, I'm still into him being a heel, and in that respect, seeing him there and Mark Henry grabbing him by the face like that made me feel like, wow, I feel really bad for Bo Dallas, and I got the energy from the crowd where I feel like they felt the same way. So it just leaves me confused, because I don't think Bo Dallas is going to make a very good babyface, just the nature of his character. Even though Mark Henry will make a great heel, I just don't see this working out, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. Unless they're just trying to rebuild Mark Henry more aggressively. But I don't think Bo Dallas is a guy to get him over in that sense. That is my 2 cents on that subject. We'll continue to move forward. I'll throw it at you and keep this train going.
And those are Matt's thoughts on Bo Dallas for the week. But all right, yeah, we're gonna move on here. We're coming in the home stretch of the show. We got about 15 minutes left here on React After Raw, so we're gonna jump into the third hour here of Raw. I didn't really pay attention here. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of started. I just kind of stopped watching. It's not that I stopped watching; it was on, but I was like looking away a lot. I know in the third hour we had AJ Lee versus Alicia Fox, bringing her back into the storyline. Um, Not happy with that at all. I really think it should be focused on Paige and AJ, not the whole, oh, she's my new BFF, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't need to be involved. I think the storyline for the Divas Championship solely needs to focus on Paige and AJ. That's it. That's all that needs to happen. And he's raising the people's eyebrow. So I'm going to throw it to you.
I'm throwing up people's eyebrow because I actually disagree. I think it actually works really well. It does continue the storyline. They ended the match with Paige attacking AJ with that, hitting her with the DDT after the match is over. So it did continue the storyline, and it adds the level of Alicia Fox in the mix. Alicia Fox is creating tension between AJ and Paige, which still keeps the attention on them. She's only there, because she's trying to make AJ jealous or whatever the deal is. And in the end, at the end of the day, this kind of adds another diva into the title picture, so that later on, after this kind of comes into fruition, after this rivalry between AJ and Paige is kind of getting to the point where it's becoming stale, they can throw Alicia Fox in there because now she has kind of history between the two of them. She makes sense to add in there. And she's on the roster other than Paige and AJ on the main roster, in my opinion, is one of the best going right now and deserves to be in that spot.
Well, wait, let's just put it this way. She's one of the only people who can be on that spot because all the other divas are on Total Divas, and they're not allowed to fight for the championship.
Oh, my God, I know.
Well, we'll put it that way.
Oh, shit. Yeah, she's like the only. They need to get their shit together. I don't. Speaking on that real quickly, I don't mind that the Total Divas aren't allowed to get the title. This is my issue with it. There's not enough divas on the roster to fucking do that. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what the hell Vince is thinking. There's not enough there's, like you said, right now there are 3 divas on the roster. Actually 4, because I'm counting Nikki Bella because she really impressed me at Night of Champions, that whole match. She's one of my new favorite divas right now, just by what she did in that match. I'm really, really liking what she's doing. Really impressed. So right now there's 4 divas who can really go after the title. 5 if you want to count Brie. I think Brie needs a little bit more work, but she'll get there, I think, eventually. Other than that, and Brie and Nikki are on Total Divas. That's right. I completely forgot about. I don't watch the fucking show, so
Right.
I forgot that they're on Total Divas, so they can't get the goddamn title.
Break it down. You have AJ, you have Paige, you have Alicia Fox, and you have Layla. And I think every other diva is on Total Divas.
Yep.
So
you have four divas, and Layla really isn't really at the point right now to get the title, so she's kind of so literally you have three divas right now who can go for the title. After a while, that's going to be really, really boring. Nobody's going
I
to give
mean,
a shit.
unless they bring Charlotte up or Bailey up, or they put Emma back in the storylines. Then there's Alexa Bliss down there, Becky Lynch. Unless they bring some of those girls up, uh, the Divas division is not looking good. It's just not, especially when
I,
you really only have four people, and then you have Tamina Snuka who's out on an injury right now. So you have a depleted Divas division. So it's sad, really.
yeah, it makes no sense for them to do this with the limited amount of divas they have. I think the next diva to be called up is going to be Charlotte, though. I do, she's the next in line, to come out of the main roster. I think she's kind of proven herself, coming to her own a lot.
One hell of a talent.
One hell of a talent. She's really. What I like about this new breed of divas is the fact that the majority of them are not afraid to take a bump. Like, they'll do
Right.
whatever it
I
takes to
agree.
put on a great show. And you had divas in the past, and I'm not trying to point fingers to say they're bad or not, but girls like Kelly, um, Eve was kind of different. They didn't really. I think she's kind of a diva who would have taken a bump, but I think back then they were way more cautious. Um, not to
Well,
say like
I think
Kelly
what it
wouldn't.
was, not to interrupt, but I'm going to interrupt anyway because it's my show, damn it. But I think what it was is for a while there, they were on the track of hiring these models who just had the look, but they didn't have the skill. So they hired these girls, and to preserve them, they didn't take the bumps. They didn't uh, go and really have a decent match. And the athlete divas really suffered because of that. And now I think the tables have turned, and really now you have divas who are athletic and willing to compete and willing to take a bump. It shows down in NXT. It shows with Paige and AJ and Alicia Fox with really those athletic divas. So I think, like you said, these new breed of divas who are more athletic, more willing to take a bump. It's going to change the divas division for the better. Hopefully, we'll see less of those bimbo model types and really see strong, serious competitors out of the divas division with those athletic divas.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you know why they did that, right? You know why they were hiring models to find the one?
Why?
Because they had fucking clown shoes as the vice president of talent relations. That guy doesn't know shit.
Oh, fucking clown.
Uh, um, yeah,
No,
but I agree with you. That's kind of like the huge issue though, is they hire people who look good, hoping that they'll find the one. They're only looking for one guy, and that's kind of what they did with Cena. They were looking for one, and that doesn't work because people get tired really quickly. It's like that analogy I always use. If you went to a restaurant and all they ever served was chicken, you're gonna eventually get tired of chicken, and you're not gonna want to go there. No matter how, I know Aussie likes to say, well, if they serve it up a little bit differently. I know for me, chicken is still chicken. I mean, yes, it tastes different, chicken parm, chicken marsala, but after a while, at the end of the day, it's still chicken, and you're gonna want something else.
right.
If you don't have that option, you're gonna go crazy, and you're gonna go to a different restaurant. And that's kind of the conundrum they got right now. Right now, they're okay with it, but what they had was just John Cena. And they look for that one guy, and that doesn't work. It's a terrible
No.
way to run things. But like you said, this Divas division is looking really good. And like I said, I didn't mind Alicia Fox being in there, seeing that she's really the only one left. But her crazy character kind of works in this dynamic. So I didn't mind it. I thought it was a good idea. And we'll see how they proceed with this. I mean, they could completely make me look like an asshole and ruin this whole thing and
Right.
give Alicia Fox the title and then put Paige on Total Divas. And then,
Not even go there. But no, I mean, I'll warm up to it eventually. I mean, the reason why I don't like it is because we've already seen it. It's already happened with Alicia Fox before, so it's happening again. I don't know. That was kind of my only, main reason why I don't like it, because we've seen this already, really.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And after that debate, we're going to jump to the main event of Monday Night Raw. John Cena, Dean Ambrose versus Randy Orton and Kane. Wasn't expecting a whole hell of a lot out of this. It was really a short main event, so you knew there wasn't really going to be a result. You knew nothing big was going to happen. It was just kind of there. Didn't really care for the match. It just kind of furthers the storyline, I guess. I guess that's really what the purpose was there for. Why the fuck did you save it for the main event? If you just wanted to further the story, you should have done it earlier and gave us an actual main event. Give us something to, turn the channel from afterwards. But, it did, like I said, it did continue to develop the feud. Interesting note, at the end of the match, you have Seth Rollins come in, interfere, and here's the big thing that I know. Here's a big thing that I noticed, pointed out today in that same article for Hell in a Cell on RealBreakWrestling.com. Seth Rollins comes out, interferes, does the curb stop to Ambrose, gets it immediate boos. They just boo him. It's just boos all around. They hate him. They don't like it. It's bad. He does the same exact thing to Cena, and the crowd says thank you.
Yep.
It just goes to show really how sick the people are of seeing John Cena. And I'm not trying to hate on John Cena here, but when you have two baby faces in the ring, you have your number two baby face, and you have the face of your company, and your number two baby face gets unanimous boos from the crowd, and your face of your company gets thank you, Seth Rollins. It's time to make a change here, people. It's sad to see that it's come to this, but when you have a crowd reacting saying thank you, Rollins, for taking Cena and smashing his face into the briefcase, I mean that's real. That should say something backstage. Like, I mean, I know it doesn't, but if it were me, like, oh, something's not right here, because this guy's supposed to be a heel, and instead of booing him for, smashing John Cena's face in, he's getting thank yous. And it just goes to show the dynamic of where Cena's character is at this point in his career. He's not going to be around forever. Randy Orton's not going to be around for forever. So it's time WWE really start trusting their younger and up-and-coming talent to really start to carry this company and really work towards the future, because after that reaction, it really concerns me, not only for John Cena's future, but for the future of this company. If they continue to push Cena the way they're pushing Cena, because for years he's been the underdog when he's never really been the underdog. And then, the reports come out today where, you're going to have Seth Rollins versus either John Cena, Dean Ambrose in the cell at Hell in a Cell, and that will be decided either a week or 2 weeks before the event, and the loser is either going to go to face Randy Orton or become, as they put it, the keeper of the key for the cell, and not sure why. I don't understand the whole keeper of the key. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just a way to, I don't know. It's really like they don't have a solid plan because Brock Lesnar is not going to be there, so they have to find a way to make this interesting. So Randy Orton's going to play second fiddle to this match, and then what happens? What happens then? Do you go the smart route? Do you go the route that's going to sell tickets, that's going to put button seats, that's going to, even get you network subscriptions, and put Dean Ambrose in the main event with Seth Rollins? Or do you go the cheap route and just go with John Cena and call it a day? I mean, for best for business, as Triple H would say, it should be Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins inside that cell. So that sells that story. And then you create a conflict with John Cena, and he's outside. He's got the key, and he's the good guy. He's Super Cena. He's not supposed to do anything bad, but he wants to get to Seth Rollins. So does he sit there and think, should I break in or shouldn't I? Should I, it's, the difference between right and wrong. Should I wait it out or should I go in and interfere? And I think that would sell the story better. That would add something to Cena's character if he becomes the keeper of the key to speak. Go in there, go in the cage, beat him up, whatever. Even if he doesn't attack Dean Ambrose, just attack Seth Rollins and Dean can attack him afterwards. But I think that conflict of seeing Cena suffer outside the cell, on the outside, looking in, just knowing that this key can get him in there would add to this story so much better than Cena fighting in the main event. And then, if Dean Ambrose is there, he'll probably just climb to the top of the cell and rip the roof off and then jump in and beat the crap out of both of them. I don't know, but I think for the sake of the storyline, it needs to be Ambrose and Rollins. Really wrap that up in a sense, and then you can move on from there. I'm going to be done rambling about that, and Matt, I'm going to throw it to you. Get your thoughts on all that.
All right, the resident rambler is here, and I'm going to try not to ramble because we are pressed for time. I like this segment, and I actually don't think that it should have been earlier. I think it was perfectly fine being the main event. The reason I liked it, I didn't think the match was great.
I didn't either.
But I liked the continuity, like I was saying in the beginning, that it continued that storyline. You started and ended with the same storyline. And that makes the whole show kind of feel like one show, instead of getting kind of confusing and starting the show with one thing and then ending it with something completely different. It just gets confusing. So for that aspect, I really liked it for the main event. I didn't think the match was that great. I thought Kane absolutely sucked in this match. I mean, him and Cena both sucked in this match. Well, even Cena was terrible in this match. I mean, he sold moves before they actually happened. I mean, that was Cena the entire match.
I think it was because they knew it was going to happen at the end, so I think they were just kind of tough through it. They just kind of tough it out, I guess.
That's possible, but I just thought both him and Kane did a terrible job in that match. Was not impressed with either one of them. Ambrose did some cool things. Orton looked really good in that match. And then you have Seth Rollins running in, attacking both of them, which we kind of knew was going to happen. That was another issue I had. It was very predictable. We've seen it before. This has happened multiple times. Although I gotta say that for some reason, I don't know why, but when Randy Orton hit that RKO on and they were all working together, and he hits that RKO on Dean Ambrose, for some reason, and I don't know why why I'm getting this feeling now, but it really made them look like a cohesive unit. Like, it made them look like the Authority, is continually getting over on Ambrose and Cena. I don't know why I'm getting that feeling now when this has been going on forever, but just after he hits that RKO and it was kind of, he almost got past Kane, but either way, Randy's right there to get you. There's no escape. It made me feel like there's no escape for Ambrose. And I really liked that aspect of it. And then hitting the curb stomp on the briefcase, I thought was a perfect finish for the match on both him and Cena. And I caught that too. The thank you Rollins. I actually had an issue with it for a completely different reason. My issue with it is I thought it was very poor booking. I thought they should have taken out Cena first. See, this is the arrogance of WWE. They think, well, John Cena's our number one face because we say so, the fans are going to love him. That's so arrogant. No, obviously the fans don't love him. They want him gone, or to change at least. I think at this point, people don't even really want to see him change anymore. They just want to see him go away. They don't even give a shit. I would not be surprised if he made a change, fans still booed him, even if he made that change. I think people are just that tired of him. But I think that they should have taken out Cena first and then gone to Ambrose, because starting your show with your number 2 heel, Seth Rollins, him going, which is arguable because you could also say, we'll say the number 2 heel on the current roster as a wrestler. Having him start with that promo at Paul Heyman, which came off like a babyface, and then having everybody laugh at him, which makes you kind of feel bad for him, And then you have this last match where the last thing you see is people thanking him and cheering for him, and he gets huge pops coming out every time. That is not a good way to build your heel, period. Whoever built that and wrote that, they failed miserably on this Raw for Rollins. He did a great job and he cut great promos, but as far as him building on heel status, they failed miserably. I'll give them, if there was anything, lower than F, I would freaking give him just for that, because that is just ridiculous to me. That promo he cuts really sold him as a babyface, not a heel, because you're manipulating Paul Heyman, which makes you an automatic. Anything you do negative to Heyman makes you an automatic babyface. Period. They should have known that going into this segment, and for some reason they didn't. Then he has all this stuff happen to him, which people loved because he was getting pissed off, and then you have all these heels laughing at him, which in a sense makes you feel bad for him in a way. It's kind of like, oh man, he's kind of getting shit on by everybody. That kind of sucks. After saying, I just want to be the best, and then this happens, and then everybody's kind of like laughing, but then they're kind of like, well, it does kind of suck. And then you have this last segment, the very last thing you see on Raw is him, his hand up high with people chanting, "Thank you, Rollins." If you were a first-time viewer and you viewed into this and you see this guy and you hear the crowd, your first reaction is, this is a good guy. There's nothing about what he did on this entire Raw that says he's a heel. Yes, he attacked Ambrose, but he also attacked Cena, which kind of makes him a babyface. I think they should have had him attack Cena first and then had him attack Rollins. That would have got him over more as a heel. But it didn't, and they didn't do that, and I really think they failed miserably with Rollins, and it really pisses me off because, it's insulting that they don't take the time to do this shit. It's not that difficult. It's common sense stuff for pro wrestling. It really frustrates me. As a segment, I thought the ending was good except for that part. Honestly, if you want to hear me elaborate more on the topic of, because running out of time, so if you want to hear me elaborate further on this and elaborate further on the topic of Dean Ambrose and the Keeper of the Key for Hell in a Cell, you're going to have to wait and tune in at noon, give or take, for the third episode of Before the Bell. Yes, that is a shameless plug. And if you haven't watched my show before, first two episodes are right here on YouTube. So definitely check those out when you get the chance. I'd really appreciate it. And I'm going to elaborate on a lot of stuff. I may cover a lot of topics. I may cover Mark Henry, Bo Dallas. We'll see when Friday rolls around. But as for that, that's all I got to say. And that is all I got to say about that, in the words of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's all he's got to say. Matt addressing, what you guys can expect this Friday on Before the Bell. Definitely tune into that. So as we're closing out the show here tonight, Matt, your letter grade for Raw.
Overall, I thought the booking of match placements wasn't too bad. Considering, I think that they should have moved the Ambrose Seth Rollins segment a little bit further down the card. I think having two of those awesome segments in the same first hour, I think didn't really help. Like you said, the first hour was really good, and then it kind of just fell off the map. Even the main event wasn't that great.
I think they should have put Hulk Hogan at the top of the second hour, and then put that next Dean Ambrose segment towards the middle or the end of the second hour, so that way you have that momentum carrying into the third hour.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. That's the problem when they book match placement to be, when you open the show with a great segment. The middle of your show, you have a great segment, and then the end of the show, you have a great segment. Then you can fill in before, and at least you're getting something throughout the entire show. You're not just getting everything piled into the first hour, and then you're getting kind of thrown this last 2 hours, which was just complete ass. I just think that they need to space things out better. I thought the spacing was a little bit better than previous weeks. Last week was much better than this week, hands down. I thought it was much more uh, had much more continuity in it. But I didn't hate the show. It's tough because those first two segments, with the two main segments of Ambrose and Rollins, really kind of stole the show. So it's really hard, but I would have to give it I'm going to say a B minus, being pretty much, normally I'd probably give it a C plus, but because it did have that continuity, because it did start and end with the same storyline, I'm going to give it a B minus, just because I'm a stickler for sticking with storylines.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there on the continuity. It's definitely nice to see when WWE does have continuity throughout their show from week to week. My thoughts on it are, if they had given me that first hour, that second Dean Ambrose segment in that main event, it would have been an A Raw. It would have been a solid A for sure. And maybe throw in that Rusev Big Show segment. I probably would have given it an A if that was the entire show. If I had just gotten that as a show, I would have given it an A, hands down. But
I kind of, not to interrupt, I was just thinking about this. I kind of would like to have seen Rusev come out and just super kick Hulk Hogan, like at the end of his segment. I thought that would have been an awesome heel moment. I was waiting for somebody to come out. I thought that, I know it's for breast cancer awareness, but this is a WWE, goddammit. They do shit like this all the time. Controversy. Have Rusev come over. That would be so much heat on him to come out, not only attacking a legend, and I use air quotes because I'm not a huge fan. He's a legend, but I'm not a huge fan of him. But having him come out and attack a legend like that, when he's giving such a great speech, about breast cancer awareness, that would have been amazing heel momentum thrown on him, and then have Big Show come out, to confront him, like, how dare you do that? I'm gonna kick your ass type deal. I think that would have been a perfect way to transition into that next thing. I think that would have been perfect, but they obviously didn't do that. But that's just my thought. I apologize for interrupting you on your show. Get back to what you were saying.
But like I said, if they had given me that first hour, that next Dean Ambrose segment, Rusev and Big Show, and then the main event, I would have given the Raw an A. But because the match placement, like you said, it wasn't booked bad. It was but I think just the overall flow and energy of the show, it just slowly dipped off because you had that strong first hour, and then the second hour was strong at the top, and then it just went down and down and down, and then by the end, I just didn't really want to watch the show anymore. So, for that reason, I'm giving it a C plus. That is what I'm giving the September 29th edition of Monday Night Raw. And that brings our review to a close, and that means our show is almost at a close. We'd like to thank you guys once again for joining us here on React After Raw. We do this every Monday after Raw, unless, a problem arises, and then we get together on Tuesday following Raw, and we do the same damn thing. But it doesn't matter because you guys are here and you're watching. And you guys can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Rope Break Wrestling. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Rope Break Wrestling. That's right, Rope Break Wrestling. And you guys can always make sure you like, share, subscribe to this YouTube page. We got all the goods here. We got React After Raw. We have The Sharpshoot. We have Before the Bell. An interesting announcement about The Sharpshoot. We have word from Aussie that he will be debuting a new episode of The Sharpshoot every Thursday at noon. So look out for that. It's always a great show. And as always, Before the Bell will be Fridays at noon. So we are giving you great shows and podcasts every single week. And if you did not see our big announcement on Facebook, listen, guys, 3,000 likes on our Facebook page. You know what that gets you? A copy of WWE 2K15 for the console of your choice. All you got to do Share our articles. Share what we post during Raw. Share these videos. Share our podcasts. Share it. Get your friends. Speaking about friends, Matt, friend time. It's friend
Nice.
time.
First of all, I want to say that was a nice segue into that. I like that a lot. I say this every week on React, every week on Before the Bell, and I'm getting tired of saying this. You guys need to pay attention because this is getting ridiculous. If for some strange reason you've got friends who know nothing about rope break, they're into pro wrestling, they love pro wrestling like you do, like we do, but they don't know about rope break, that is because you're being neglectful and you're being a terrible friend, and you need to bring them over to the rope break lifestyle. I say this every time. It's okay to be in the bleachers. It's okay to be ringside, but there's no better place to be than in the ring with rope break. Rope break, and if you're not following the rope break lifestyle, then plain and simple, you're not really living. That is not even me being biased. That is just a fact of life.
Fact, as in Tyson Kidd. And with that being said, it's time for us to close out another episode of React After Raw. We went into overtime, but now overtime is over. The game is over. We have won. So that's it. It is another episode in the books. If you're not, you know what? I'm going to continue the Enzo Amore trend here like I did when I opened the show. If you're not down with rope break, I got one word for you. SAWFT, soft.
Soft.
All right, guys.
I like the continuity.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Take care, guys.